And what if indeed there is a God in this world? Let me share with you soon a fascinating story on those very words. But before this, let us say thank God that we all believe that He is, and pray to Him for the ultimate redemption, which is the salvation solution for all problems. Chapter 100, Mizmor L'Soy Derila Den Osoy. Let us give some tzedakah. Tzedakah and doing it together will bring the ultimate blessing. Today is Chav Dalet Teves, the 24th day of the month of Teves. You know, Chassidim love to have another date and another date, but this date is, amongst all others, special. And it's the day when the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chabad movement, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, passed away in the year 1812, 5573. And he passed away in the little city of Haditch. Whole story about what happened. He ran away from Napoleon, but that's a story for itself. So I want to share with you a most fascinating story of the vision, the foresight of the Alter Rebbe, combined with his colleague, the Reb Shlomo Karlin. And the story is told as follows. Many people would come to the Alter Rebbe, to the Baal HaTanya, to study from him. Some of them came for the deep understanding of servitude to Hashem, which is what the Alter Rebbe develops in Tanya, a whole novel approach on how to serve God. But some of them just came for the intellectual stimulation, to listen to his deep explanation on Kabbalistic terms as well as on Talmudic terms. They enjoyed the intellectual stimulation. Among them was an individual, a very successful businessman by the name of Shlomo Fagin. Although just being a businessman, but he was also a brilliant man. But unfortunately, his studies was more intellectual than internalizing it. One day, Shlomo, supposed to travel to Leipzig, which was where the world, the big shows, what we call today the big shows, get together for this business. And prior to go on a trip, the Alter Rebbe called upon him. And he asked him, how do you go there? And when he gave him more or less the description of the route, I guess there was no Waze or whatever you call it, Google Maps, he told him that he's going to be passing also through the city of Karlin. Says the Alter Rebbe, do me a favor. When you pass the city of Karlin, go to great tzaddik, his name was Reb Shlomo of Karlin, a colleague of mine, a good friend of mine. Go pass by, say hello to him. Sure, Rebbe, with pleasure. Stops off, waits in the waiting room to see the Rebbe, to give regards from his colleague, from his friend. He's waiting, suddenly Reb Shlomo Karlin opens the door and he paces back and forth in the waiting room and he says, and what about if God does exist? And goes back to his room. A few moments later, the thing repeats itself. Pacing back and forth, there where Shlomo is sitting, in the waiting room to go into the Rebbe. And what about if God does exist? Young man, what would you say? And then this happens a third time. Pacing back and forth. Young man, and what would you say if God does exist? With this, Shlomo understood that was the purpose of his trip here, and he left. Successful in his business, unfortunately, turned his coat away. He became very, very secular and moved up in ranks in success and became an important minister in the Tsar's government. When the Alter Rebbe passed away and he was buried in the city of Haditch, a while after that, Chassidim found out that the government wants to build a new road passing exactly there where the Alter Rebbe is buried. They were very concerned about it. So there was an elderly Chasid by the name of Reb Moshe Vilenker, who he was friends with. They learned together with the Shlomo. And him being a minister, would have some say, some pull. So he meets up with him. He says, absolutely, it happens to be that it's part of my portfolio in my responsibilities. I will definitely make sure that this doesn't happen. But then he says, how about you and I sitting down together and having a good old Verbrengen, a good old, when we were learning together. I missed these moments. Sure, this Sata, said L'chaim. And then Shloime says to Rav Moshe Vilenker, says, I was very successful. Riches, comfort, honor, I have it all. But I don't enjoy it. I have in my ears those words that Reb Shloime Karlin kept on telling to me. Young man, and what about if God does exist? It is with me continuously.